What's up, y'all? Aggie Out Loud. I'm back once again for another video, another case, or several cases, that is. I'm going to jump right into it. But first, I have to say this. So I did a video yesterday on the Daring Woods Massacre of 1948 in Britain. And one of my awesome subscribers, Elizabeth M., left a comment. She was like, great video. And she said, however, have you ever heard about these mysterious stairwells or staircases that are found in, national parks and out in the woods in the middle of nowhere? And I replied with, no, I haven't. But oh, snap, that sounds pretty cool and very mysterious, right? So she sent me a Reddit link with some experiences that a search and rescue officer has had, and he's shared his experiences on Reddit. I don't use Reddit, so I don't know if they're called posts or what, but nonetheless, I've read a lot of his experiences. Some of them shock me, some of them don't. So, but they're very interesting, and it's very clear that he's just telling these stories kind of to get them off his chest, but also to see if anyone's even interested in reading anything about these experiences, and or if they've had experiences similar to these. So I'm just going to delve right into it. This is going to be a series, a 6 to 7 part series. So I got my tablet and I'm going to read what he's posted up about his experiences. He doesn't give his name, obviously, because the experiences that he's sharing could actually risk his job. He could get fired over this. And he doesn't list where he works, but you can tell that he's being truly genuine with all of these experiences and just wants to know what others think about them, or if they've had similar experiences as well. So we're just going to delve right into it. I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service. I have some stories to tell. I wasn't sure where else to post these stories, so I figured I'd share them here. I've been a search and rescue officer for a few years now, and along the way, I've seen some things that I think you guys will be very interested in hearing. I have a pretty good track record for finding missing people. Most of the time, they just wander off the path or slip down a small cliff, and they can't find their way back. The majority of them have heard the old "stay where you are" thing, and they don't wander off too far. But I've had 2 cases where that did not happen. Both bother me a lot, and I use them as motivation to search even harder on the missing persons cases I get called on. The first was of a little boy who was out berry picking with his parents. He and his sister were together, and both of them went missing around the same time. Their parents lost sight of them for just a few seconds, and in that time, both the kids apparently wandered off. When their parents couldn't find them, they called us, and we came out to search the area. We found the daughter pretty quickly, and when we asked where her brother was, she told us that he'd been taken away by the bear man. She said he gave her berries and told her to stay quiet, that he wanted to play with her brother for a while. The last she saw of her brother, he was riding on the shoulders of the bear man, but seemed to be calm. Of course, our first thought was abduction, but we never found a trace of another human being in that area at all. The little girl was also insistent that he wasn't a normal-looking man, but that he was tall and covered in hair like a bear, and that he had a very weird face. We searched that area for weeks. It was one of the longest calls I've ever been on, but we never found a single trace of that little kid. The other was a young woman who was out hiking with her mom and grandpa. According to the mother, her daughter had climbed up a very tall tree to get a better view of the forest, but she never climbed back down the tree. They waited at the base of the tree for hours, calling her name and everything, before they called us for help. Again, we searched everywhere, and we never found a single trace of that little girl. I have no idea where she could possibly have gone, because neither her mother or grandpa ever saw her come back down that tall tree. A few times I've been out on my own searching with a canine, and they've tried to lead me straight up cliffs. Not hills, not even rock faces, but straight sheer cliffs with no possible handholds. It's always baffling, and in those cases we we usually find the person on the other side of the cliff or miles away from where the canine had led us. I'm sure there's an explanation, but it's sort of strange. One particularly sad case involved the recovery of a body of a 9-year-old little girl that fell down an embankment and got impaled on a dead tree at the base. It was a complete freak accident, but I'll never forget the sound her mother made when we told her what had happened. She saw the body bag being loaded into the ambulance, and she let out the most haunting, heartbroken wail I've ever heard. It was like her whole life was crashing down around her, and a part of her had died with her daughter that day. I heard from another search and rescue officer that she killed herself a few weeks after it happened. She couldn't live with the loss of her daughter. That's just so depressing. I'm going to just keep going. I was teamed up with another search and rescue officer because we'd received reports of bears in the area. We were looking for a guy who hadn't come home from a climbing trip when he was supposed to, and we ended up having to do some serious climbing to get to where we figured he'd be. We found him trapped in a small crevice with a broken leg. It was not pleasant. He'd been there for almost 2 days, and his leg was very obviously infected. We were able to get him into a chopper, and I heard from one of the EMTs that the guy was absolutely inconsolable. He kept talking about how he'd been doing fine, and when he'd gotten to the top of the mountain, a man had been there. He said the guy had no climbing equipment, though, and he was wearing a parka and ski pants. He walked up to the guy, and when the guy turned around, he said the man had no face. It was just blank. He said he freaked out and ended up trying to get off the mountain too fast, which is why he'd fallen in the first place. He said he could hear the guy all night climbing down the mountain and letting out these horrible muffled screams. That story bothered the hell out of me. I'm glad I wasn't there to hear it. One of the scariest things I've ever had happen to me involved the search for a young woman who'd gotten separated from her hiking group. We were out until late at night because the dogs had picked up her scent. When we found her, she was curled up under a large rotted log. She was missing her shoes and backpack, and she was clearly in shock. She didn't have any injuries at all whatsoever, and we were able to get her to walk with us back to base ops. Along the way, she kept looking behind us and asking us why that big man with black eyes was following us. We couldn't see anyone, so we just wrote it off as some weird symptom of shock. But the closer we got to the base, the more agitated this woman got. She kept asking me to tell him to stop making faces at her. At one point, she stopped and turned around and started yelling into the forest, saying that she wanted him to leave her alone. She wasn't going to go with him, she said, and she wouldn't give us to him either. We finally got her to keep moving, but we started hearing these weird noises coming from all around us. It was almost like coughing, but more rhythmic and deeper. It was almost insect-like. I don't really know how else to describe it. When we were within sight of base ops, the woman turns to me, and her eyes are about as wide as I can imagine a human could open them. She touches my shoulder and says, "He says to tell you to speed up. He doesn't like looking at the scar on your neck." Which I have, by the way, a very small scar on the base of my neck, but it's mostly hidden under my collar, and I have no idea how this woman saw it. Right after she says this, I hear that weird coughing right in my ear, and I just about jumped out of my skin. I hustled her to base ops, trying not to show how freaked out I was, but I have to say I was really happy when we left the area that night. This is the last one I'll tell, and it's probably the weirdest story I have. Now, I don't know if this is true in every search and rescue unit, but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken regular thing we run into. And this is about the stairs, these mysterious stairs. You can try asking about it with other search and rescue officers, but even if they know what you're talking about, they probably won't say anything about it either. We've been told not to talk about it by our superiors, and at this point we've all gotten just so used to it that it doesn't even seem weird to us anymore. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking about like 30 or 40 miles deep, at some point we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like if you took the stairs in your house, cut them out, and put them in the forest. I asked about it the first time I saw some, and the other officer just told me not to worry about it, that it was just normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. I wanted to go check them out, but I was told very emphatically that I should never go near any of them. I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them because it happens so frequently. I have a lot more stories, and I suppose if anyone's interested, I'll tell some of them tomorrow. If anyone has any theories about the stairs, or if you've seen them too, let me know. So this is part 1 of a part 6 to 7 part series. So I hope everybody liked this part 1 series. I think this is very interesting. Like I said, I've read up to part 7, which I think is all he has. It may have been just up to part 6. But if y'all think that's weird, y'all ain't heard nothing yet. It gets a whole lot weirder. So look out for the next video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if I can get my words right. Don't forget to like, share, and comment below. I love each and every one of y'all. And if you're interested in seeing some more videos I've done on conspiracy theories and or just strange news events and of missing persons, go to my playlist and look for the title Conspiracy Theories / Topics videos, and you can scroll down that. I've done a video recently on the missing 411 cases with David Pilates, talking about all of those cases. So please check that out, and I'll see you in the next video, part 2. I've been talking all day, so my words are starting to stutter. I love each and every one of y'all. Aggi out loud, and I'm out. Peace.